Okay, looks like I'm running a little late today, but no worries. I'm still here. I just have to walk the dog and other things that are entirely within my realm of control. Um, and yeah, just poor mismanagement of time. Okay, so I worked on this a bit more yesterday. Let's kind of catch up to where we are. Um, so let's fire up Godot. Also, I increased the audio, so hopefully the audio will actually be more easily audible this time. I think spiking to the yellow is where it's supposed to be. Let me know if it's too loud or too quiet, and I'll try to fix that again. Um, yeah, so here's where this is. Yeah, I think let me pull down the latest changes. I just want to make sure that I have everything. Okay, I did not. So here's this. Reload. Reload. I'm just gonna reload current project just to be sure. Usually it's fine, but you never know. Okay, so here's where we left off. Or here's where I left off. I'm gonna turn off collision shapes for a second. Um, and so here's everything that's working. You can place buttons. There's numbers now. You can recall them. You can place buttons and you can wire them to the turret. And you can right click on the wire to destroy it, and right click on the button to destroy that, and you can right click on the button to destroy both. It automatically gets rid of both of them. There's also this funny little sign up here at the top, days since last accident 1. And if you place this thing here, it goes down to 0. And I also made a button here so you can click here and go to the next level. I think one of the things that's been kind of bothering me is, let's take a look at like um what I was thinking of, like the next level would look like. I was thinking, you know, something like this, and then there's like a something like this, and there's like a person here, a receptionist. You do not kill the receptionist. I think that's just kind of unnecessary. So what I was thinking of, like, they have, you know, like they have a computer in front of them, and can you like a big old CRT thing, um, and can you like smash it and cause the door behind them to open? Um, so this whole thing has a couple I don't know, problems. One is each level is going to be a whole lot of new content. Uh, and maybe you could have like 3 levels of labs after this or something, that each one has, is using the same kind of tile set, but arranged differently. But even besides that, I'm not sure. Like, the Incredible Machine is all like ridiculous things. It's all cannons and cats and mice and cheese and fly traps and mouse traps, and you know, little incredulous, ridiculous things. Um, I don't know. Like, we have buttons and wires, but I'm struggling creatively to think of like what kind of general purpose things can you drop into a game so that people can interact with. So I was like, okay, well, what if instead of buttons down here, I get rid of that stuff, and it's a little bit more like a you click on things around the room to trigger actions. So maybe you have a trash can over here, and you can click it, and it falls over. And then there's like a janitor here, and anytime you knock over the trash can, a janitor comes out, and picks it up and then goes back into the room. And while the janitor is out here, you can click on this to go into another room and um, uh, there's some item in there that you can use out here. I don't know. You can. There's a USB key sitting on a shelf somewhere that you can click on, and then you can click on the computer, and then it hacks it, and I don't know, something like that. Um, that does kind of defeat the like that's a different game, and I'm not entirely opposed to it. Uh, or the janitor has a key on their belt, and you can click on that while they're standing here, and you can get here. I'm not entirely opposed to that, but that starts to feel like I haven't played them, but I think that sounds like one of those kind of escape room kind of games where you start kind of mashing things around. You're like, what can I click on? Um, and that does kind of solve one problem of every room has kind of interesting, unique interactions, but that is also the problem. I don't. It still has the problem of every room is a bunch of unique content, uh, which is fine. But one, I don't have a lot of time. I mean, it's a game jam, and I have a week, or five days to do it. Um, but the other thing is like that doesn't play to my skills. In fact, that like does the opposite of playing to my skills. It like it's very heavy on content and art, and fairly light on programming, and like such that you could probably easily do this in a visual scripting language to be like, if you have these things, then you can click on these things and get to the next level. And as a software developer, I don't want to do things that rely heavily on content because I'm bad at art. So I don't want to really do that either. So I think I think it'd be interesting to play that kind of game. Like I don't know if there's escape room games where you kind of go through level by level and it's kind of like a escape room cross point and click adventure. That would be kind of, because I feel like escape rooms in games are often literally you're in a room and you're like trying to make all these kind of logical leaps from here to there to there to there. Versus here you're like you spend 5 minutes per level and you go into the next area. I think that'd be kind of interesting. A lot of visual storytelling you could do there. So what I'd like to do instead is a completely different game. So kind of starting over. So again, the game is, the genre is 0 days since last accident. So I was thinking of making a game. It's a little bit more arcadey, but I was like, okay, this kind of theme narrows itself down to like I don't know. I don't know if it does. Um, like construction sites is one thing that comes to mind here, is because that's literally where often you see one of these signs is either in construction sites or warehouses or that kind of thing. I want to make a game called Tippy Towers, which I don't know how. Yep, okay. I don't know how original this is. I don't care. I haven't made it before, and maybe I can kind of put my own spin on it. So Tippy Towers is you have. I guess I want the pencil. Yeah. So pretend the entire screen is your game viewport. You start by placing. I wonder if I can make this a bigger pencil. Sure. You start by placing, square things, and you're trying to stack them as tall as you can. This kind of game has definitely been done before, but it's a bit simple. I haven't played. I don't know like what the industry standard is on this, but the goal is to like stack up as high as you can before it falls over. But I want to do. There's a couple of unique things I want to do with this. And of course, I don't know what the rationale is. It doesn't matter. There's boxes and you're trying to stack them into space. And as soon as the boxes fall over, then I want there to be some kind of level, like every time you go up a screen, like days since last accident increases to like by 1 up here in the corner, and you're trying to increase the counter as much as you can by getting more screens higher and higher up. And of course, when it tips over, the counter resets to 0 and it's game over. So fairly benign. I was thinking of having like little people walk around underneath it, but that's unnecessary. I think I will have like when when it starts to like tip over, like people scream or something. I think that's harmless and funny. Um, Mostly harmless and funny. So the shtick that I want to do that makes this a little annoying for the player, I mean fun, uh, is you have like a you have things over here. You have like a pile of boxes over here. Well, initially it's just a couple boxes, but then you have some kind of crane. It's kind of a magnetic. Uh, well, I don't know any of the words for this, but you see these in like kids cartoons, and I think I'm sure they exist in real life. These giant magnets at like junkyards. Maybe this is maybe this is at a junkyard and you're trying to stack cars or something. Except all the cars are perfectly rectangular. That could be kind of interesting. So you have this magnetic thing here, and then you lower it and you stick it to a block here, and then you move it over here, and then you try to stack it on top. So it's not just you know Tetris. It's advanced Tetris because this thing here is a chain and it's wobbly. So you have arrows that allow you to move this thing, and then um, some kind of like down. If you think of this as a bit more of almost like a mobile game, I might have like giant controls over here. We're gonna delete this one, but like giant controls in the corner of the screen rather than on this thing. Also, it might be kind of annoying that if the controls are moving while you're moving um, you don't want the thing you're touching to move. This is the touch target slash button. That would be kind of silly. So I might put these in the corner, and maybe the bottom corners will be the up down ones, or maybe in the center or something. So the goal is these things drop down over here, and then they come over here, and then you stack over here. They drop down the left side, and then you kind of haphazardly, and then you pile them up on the right side. So that's the gist of it. And this little thing is magnetic here, as I mentioned. And as you get higher up, the camera will follow along the kind of it'll keep the stuff here in like the bottom half of the screen. And it'll stay targeted that way. If and so that's like a good basic start. And then there's some kind of the score counters how many days there's been, or you can have like individual some counter for how many pixels, like what the highest pixel is essentially, um, which we can do with a shape cast. Something else that I would like to do that is going to make this kind of next level is what if we didn't have just square shapes? So if you have, squares and tall squares and flat squares, they all kind of stack the same way. And that's kind of boring. What I want to do is like, okay, well, what happens if you get a triangle? Okay, that's problematic. There's no conceivable way that you could stack a triangle here and, balance a thing on top of it. I guess you could have a triangle and like put it off on the edge here and then put stuff here. I mean, I guess that would work. That'd be kind of cheap, but I suppose it'd be fine. The way I could counter that as a game developer is what if the triangle is like 40% the size of a rectangle here, and all of your next, all your current shapes are large shapes and other triangles. So what I'm trying to get at is the player has has to place like two triangles, and then they can place a thing on top of that, which seems, seems dicey. Uh, I was originally thinking it would be interesting if you had a large shape and like two triangles. That's not a triangle. Two triangles of this. The triangles have to always be the same size, otherwise you're gonna get tilt, and I think that's impossible for the player to overcome. Obviously these are different size, but bear with me. Try to imagine. And then you would pick these up, maybe just with your mouse, because the mag thing is gonna be kind of fiddly. But you just pick these up and you like somehow glue them to parts on this. So then you can pick up the entire shape and it's all glued together and do that. As it is with these triangles here, if you have the magnet, I'm gonna have to do this. This is gonna be a little bit tricky, but the magnet will always be holding onto the triangle like this. Like it doesn't, if you imagine in real life, this is the magnet. This point would never, this is gonna like rotate this way. So it's always gonna, okay, well, I guess that was not what I wanted to do. I'm used to using paint.net. It seems goofy. How do you make things bigger? Magnifier? Okay, whatever. So this is always going to be like this. And I think that's fine, because similarly when you drop it, it'll have to like flatten out the other way when you drop it here. So I think there's going to be a little bit of, it's not just set it down gently, there's going to be a bit of like, try to fling it and drop it carefully. So this game is going to be very fiddly, very in kind of like a fight the physics engine kind of way. We'll see how annoying that is. That's kind of the entire principle of the game. My hope is the magnet here, even though there's like physics chains here, I think if I make all these, sorry, I don't know if you can see my cursor. If I make like the chain links here heavy, I think they'll be more resistant to motion, which I think will make it less bouncy, which is what we want. Okay. All right. And so this is it's a simple kind of arcade thing. I can keep adding on to it. You can have levels, you can have difficulty. There's oh, one thing I didn't mention so far is there's this pile of like, there actually is going to be like, this is your main tower here, but then there's also going to be this thing over here to the side, and this is going to be like a platform that follows, like as the camera goes higher and higher up, this platform will stay constant. It'll kind of follow, it'll move with the player, and it's your kind of your staging area. And so you can have blocks that stack here, and every I don't know, anytime you add a time component to a game, it makes things stressful. We'll see. There might be like a casual mode. Anyway, so it's never, I guess my point is, it's not like Tetris or some games where you just you're placing the next object. I want there to be some kind of, you have a pile of objects here and you're trying to stack them over here on the right. And let's say for the time element, like you get a new object every 60 seconds. And in fact, there's no limit to the number of objects you can get. You can have as many objects over here on the left side as you want. But as you pile up more and more objects, they can, they will like start to kind of form this garbage heap if you're not careful. And eventually this garbage heap will actually spill over into your tower, which will cause predictable results. So there is kind of a physical limit. I mean, if things are being, let's see, how did things actually get in here? It would be interesting if there's like a chute. There's like this item chute that comes in here and it like plops in here. Um, I think the only kind of problem I'm trying to anticipate is like, okay, what if you're doing really badly and it's like filled to here? What if like the chute gets blocked and you pseudo win by having infinite objects here? I guess it wouldn't win, but it'd be like a stalemate. But I'll cross that bridge when we come to it. I do like the idea of objects sliding in here, um, and maybe having like a little lip over here. And if you like, if there's too many objects, then it might just like slide into your tower. I don't know. So for shapes, I'm thinking squares, rectangles, triangles. I think all the triangles, they don't have to all be the same size, but there has to be like a few discrete sizes, like small triangles, mid triangles, and large triangles, so that you can wait until you have two triangles of the same size and then place them over here at the same time. Because I think this is going to be the only pattern that works. Something else that might be something else that I had as an idea is you can also have circles or wheels, round things, ball bearings, and obviously you can't use them directly on the you know you like if you have two circles here, those are terrible circles, and then like an object on top of it, like that's literally just like how ball bearings work to increase or decrease friction between these two things, and so then this top one will just like literally just slide off. So what you'd want to do is these circles, you'd be like, well, if you have a triangle here and a triangle here, then you can put a circle in there and hope for the best. Hope it doesn't like knock into these too vigorously. But as your tower tilts a little bit, it might slide a little bit side to side. So I really wish I could open multiple. Okay. Image creator. Okay. So the one thing that's going to be the most technically challenging is here's your block. Here's the thing on the ground, and here's your magnet. And your magnet is swinging like crazy, and picking stuff up here. But eventually, like I don't want it to just kind of glue like when it hits something. If it did that, it would look like, it looked like this. Or like, yes, this is perfectly normal here. So what I think you want is like this part should kind of snap to that. And so that the two surfaces are collinear. And I'm not there's a bunch of different ways I could maybe handle this. Like I don't want it to snap instantaneously. I want it to gravitate towards this. And maybe what I could do is there's this feature I've never used before of area 2Ds, which are again like triggers. Where you can actually change gravity. And you can say things inside of it are affected by a different gravity direction. I don't know how it works with like, if there's like an object inside of it, then obviously that object is entirely subject to gravity. If the thing is half inside of it, is it just affected on this side? That would make sense. I guess I'll have to experiment. And I guess what I'm going with this is you could say like this could project an area 2D in front of it, and when things enter it, it creates a new area 2D. Well, I don't even know. Maybe that's not necessary. Maybe I don't need this gravity thing. What I can say is when a body enters this thing gravitates towards the body. But kind of what you want is these points here, or maybe just these 2 points. these points here will gravitate, will kind of raycast either directly down, well, either along the normal or directly down. And then, once it's close, it'll start, you can start exerting that force. But it's so I guess the problem is it's towards the object that it collided with. But how do you, like, there's the center of the object, where I guess you could kind of like cast multiple times to see like which point. Anyway, I think this is enough to get started. Leave those technical hard things for later. So I'm gonna shut out of this. I haven't actually done any of the template creation yet. Here we are. Okay, use this template, new repository. I also don't even know if Tippy Towers is like already taken or not. Okay. Close enough. Okay, there's another one on it's fine. Tippy Towers. I always assume any name that has like alliteration in it, I don't know, they're good names, are going to be maybe more likely to be taken. Okay, so here we are in Tippy Towers. Open, get from version control, GitHub, Tippy Towers, clone. Let's go. Trust and open. Yes, I did just create it. So we're going to delete clicky clicker and this other stuff. And we're going to create a new project. New. Rider projects. Tippy Towers. I'm just going to call it Tippy Towers in here also. Okay, leaving on a mobile. Okay. 2D scene. I'm gonna call this game. Ta-da! Okay. Okay. So first we're going to kind of create our arena game. So I'm just going to drag out, well, I always do that, static. So yeah, so the first part is we have this thing, I wish you could see, the cursor is like 1 pixel wide, it's very small. So there's here, but we need to create like our ground and this thing over here and kind of an infinite wall over here. So this actually is not how you, so I know I put a static body there. It's actually not what I'm going to do, because we can do something slightly better. So we have the ground. Use the Godot logo for everything. It's traditional. I mean, it's cursed, but traditional. And you can actually do, wait, no, I was wrong. Okay, sorry. I'm trying to think of how to do this normally. So this is at 0. I need to reset this position. Okay. So now static body, it was weird. Like static body was at the origin, but ground was like where it was supposed to be. So now ground is at 0 and static body is at the origin. So this is what I want. But for the collision shape, your first instinct might be to create a rectangle shape and then just like drag it out to the size of this. I think that would work, but I believe more efficient is to use a world boundary. So if you look at the world boundary, it's I don't know exactly like what makes it special. It's an infinite straight line that forces physics bodies to stay above it. There's a normal line in the editor. So I guess the purpose is like this. I mean, as it says, it extends out to infinity. There's no, whereas a rectangle has some edge to it, and you can like trap things inside of it. But like we could create like a box around the arena, but that there's still like a tiny possibility that physics objects will like teleport outside. So this is just kind of a nicer way to like look. This is the edge of the universe, right here. So we can test this by throwing a rigid body in here. Let's call it a block. Can I rename a couple other things? We have our rigid body. It needs a image. Of course, it's not in the right spot. And it needs the collision shape. Lucky guess. Come on. There you go. Give it a little tilt for some interest. Okay. So, and of course, the important thing here is, even if the ground isn't there, it's still like there's still this invisible wall that extends to infinity, which is what we want. So this very faint blue line here is the edge of the camera. I think that's what we want. And if you zoom in a lot, the collision shape here, I don't. I was gonna say like, why does this have a length? It's a normal, but it's actually a rotation widget or gizmo. Okay, so I think it's off by a pixel, but it's. Can I lower this by 1 pixel? Yep, I had it right the first time. Okay, it's a half a pixel. Does that count? Ugh. You know what? This is not the right time for this. Okay, close enough. I think the problem is that the other shape is like a weird size. Hey, Sloth-like man, thanks for joining. So I'll quickly recap. I'm starting over with a new idea. I think the previous idea I had was too focused on content. By which I mean like every level had a bunch of new content to it, and it wasn't like here's a little toy, redirect the player to play with the toy, and the entire game is like messing around with that physics mechanic or that thing. Like in Half-Life 2 was like the gravity gun. Was one thing. And so what I'm doing instead is I'm making this little game called Tippy Towers, where the short version is you stack boxes until off the top of the screen. I think that's kind of a classic, but I'm trying to put my own spin on it. And the two things I'm doing that are unique are one, there's going to be like a magnetic, kind of like those, I always think of it from cartoons because I've never seen one, but like a junkyard, like a car junkyard magnetic thing, that magnetic crane that moves things around. You kind of have that similar kind of thing, and so it's not just drag and drop and put things on top. Like no, you have this wobbly chain link crane that you have to like slowly drop things on. I'm gonna make the chain kind of heavy, so it's not gonna be too crazy, but it's still gonna be like a timing thing and a little physics thing. Like, you know, you have to like drop it a bit. Or you could like bump the tower to like get more alignment, you know, but to reduce the drop. But then you're touching the tower, and maybe that's a bad idea. The other thing I want to do is have this thing off to the side where you have an ever increasing pile of stuff of things that you need to drop on top. And so some of these things you might need to. It's kind of like a buffer. Some of these things you might need to not glue together. That was kind of a rejected idea I had, but pair them together to be like, look, you can, if you have a triangle, you can't do anything with that until you have two triangles. So then you can, of the same size, so you can stack those and kind of create a virtual platform. And then your progress will be measured by like how many screens you've gone up, and that will indicate like, you know, one day per screen. And so you can say like, 6 days since last accident will be like you've gone up 6 screens, and once it tips over, it resets back to 0 and it's game over. So the one kind of technical challenge is going to be getting the magnet to stick to things. I mean, there's going to be a few technical challenges, but this is like the biggest one that I don't have an exact idea for how to solve. Stick to things in kind of a I don't know, a realistic way. I just had an idea. I was thinking about the magnet. I don't know why I thought this is. Well, I was thinking that the magnet would like be pulled down. Like when you get close, the magnet kind of snaps to the object. But in fact, it's like mutual. When the magnet gets close to something, it pulls towards the object and the object pulls towards it. So that could be good for smaller objects because this will just stick to it. There's also this other problem, like how can you stick to multiple things? What if you have like a bunch of small objects? Do you want to like dump all those at the same time? I don't know. I want it to be kind of silly, and we'll kind of roll with it and see how it goes. Okay, so here's our block. Looks amazing. And I'm gonna commit real quick. So I deleted all these other files, basic, block, and platform. Hey Shadowgen, welcome in. I am starting on a kind of a build a tower game. I don't know. This is a week-long game jam, but I kind of gave up on my previous idea because it was hard. Because it was ill-conceived, and some ideas require like a lot of upfront kind of game design work, and those ideas should not be used in in game jams, honestly. So that was my bad, and I think the previous game was one of those. Okay, so this is I don't know. I'm gonna call it block is very vague, but this is like an object that can be picked up. So the next thing to do is to like have a well, there's two parts. There's looking at this. There's like the crane, and then there's the rope, and then there's the magnet. So I'm gonna start with the crane. Which is going to be, you know, just a this thing reparent to a kinematic body / character body. It's floating because there's no sense of ground. This is a long-standing. Well, it's kind of a bug to me. If you take an object and you reparent it, the parent is at the origin. And I'm like, but why would I ever want this? So what I always have to do is after reparent it, copy the transform, go to the parent, paste the transform, go back to the child, and reset it. So now it's what everyone would expect. So we're going to rename this to crane and sprite. And I mean, does it actually need a physics body? I mean, I'll create one, but there's another type called animatable. It says a physical body that can be moved by external forces. When moved manually, it affects other bodies in its path. I don't. Let's stick with this shape for now, and we'll see how it goes. It seems, whatever, a little weird, but it's fine. Okay, so we have our crane. I think I want to squoosh it a little bit because in the picture here, like I want it to be, I don't know, it's not exactly gonna be like a regular crane. I was thinking it'd have some kind of like black and white, or sorry, black and yellow kind of diagonal zebra stripes on it. But we'll figure that out later. I was trying to figure out how do I scale this thing. I'm like, okay, I guess I just scale it. Let's call it 4 by 0.5. I'm kind of thinking like the mobile game aesthetic, so everything's going to be a little chunkier than usual. And of course, you don't scale physics objects because the physics engine hates that. This is a newer thing. I think they added this in 4.2, these little gizmos here. Okay, we'll scale both of them. Can I do? Okay. Ah, okay. Oh, 512 is exactly what I wanted. All right. Okay, so this is now sized correctly, and so now we need to move it. So we're going to create a new script under scripts, because why not? Lowercase. It's interesting it didn't default to the system. It really defaults to the 2D movement, but it says it's for like platformers. So we don't want that. We want this. And I always throw in a class name in here because I don't know. To me, it's the best practice to always have these things named. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to use input actions, input map stuff. So if you look here, you have left and right. I think it's the best practice to like create your own because these are like UI left and right, and this is if you're trying to navigate through the interface, you can use these arrows. In general, it's a good idea to create new ones. I suppose I'm gonna be lazy this time and not do that. So we want to say if input dot action pressed. So press is like on the like leading edge and release is on the trailing edge. And I think pressed means it's being held down. That would be my expectation. I wish it would autocomplete there. Okay, that was getting stuck. And then now we're going to wait a second. Because this is a physics object, you're supposed to do this in a physics process. So for magic reasons. So now we're just going to say position dot x minus equal to 10, and we're going to multiply it by delta. So it's 10 pixels per second, or 20 pixels. Elif input is action pressed. Is anything pressed? No. UI right. And there's like invented ways to do this, but this is all, I mean, this game is not doing very much. It's perfectly fine to do this. Now when you do left and right, okay, that's not moving very much at all. What I'm gonna do, export var speed, which is an int. Technically it's a float, but I think int is a nice round number. And then we'll do that. So now, as you can see on the right side, it immediately popped up, which is one tiny nice thing about GDScript versus C#. You don't have to recompile it. So at least it's using its scriptiness to our advantage. something else that is kind of, I keep trying to use, I keep trying to use the WASD keys. I'm gonna go ahead and just do what I said. Create a new one, move left, move right, and create the new input map. This one, move left, is that. It's also the left arrow. I think there are also some D-pad stuff. I'm not gonna worry about that right now. Like this. So now you can use the WASD keys for that. Looks great. Move left, move right. And also auto-completes here, which is always nice. Move right. The exact match there is like, can you have, what happens if you're pressing modifier keys? So I don't really care about that. And we're going to try 100 and try the WASD keys. Okay. That's a little slow still. Okay. Looks good. Okay. Movable platform. Movable crane. So I was watching some like videos this morning on how to implement a rope, like a chain, and they all involve, or well, I guess it was one based on another video. So all two videos involved. You have a number of chain segments, and then those chain segments have pin joints between them. And these chain segments are like the little rectangles, and they have pin segments between them, and that's it. So let's go ahead. I'm going to create a scene from this before it gets too far. I meant a folder. Create new folder. Scenes. You go in here. Ta-da. And of course, another great annoying thing is the scene here is like not reparented to the origin. So I actually want this to be, let's copy this just in case. I want this to be here, but then over here on the game, it's now moved. I think those are the only two kind of frustrating things involving origin stuff. But so the other thing that's kind of interesting is the examples that I saw. Okay, I guess I'll open up another instance of Paint. It was like you have your you have your level, and then you have these chain links here. And then there's like a hook or something at the bottom that you can like grapple onto, and they whatever they swing back and forth. But it's a fixed length, and that's going to be a little problematic because we don't have a fixed length chain. Because the crane is going to be able to come, move up or down. So but there's still a couple ways. So first of all, the fact that they make all these chain links by hand is always kind of a pain. But there's not too many of them, I suppose. So there's also no like, there's no specific thing for ropes. So again, they use the pin joint here, and it attaches two. Well, that's the wrong one. The 2D one. It pins them around a single point, allowing them to freely rotate. So each chain link is pinned around this thing. What I was thinking of doing, also, I was reading online, this one seems super broken. I don't know if we're planning on using this one. Unfortunate if we are, but I'm going to try to just use the pin joint. Okay, so let's go ahead and add a bunch of chain links, or like, yeah. I might need to create a scene for this. We'll see. So this is our platform. We want this to be much smaller. You know what? Let's actually art this up a bit. So this is 128 by 128, and we want something that's not what I want. So we're thinking, or I'm thinking like, I think that's good enough for now. This kind of dimensionality, this kind of size. I might change it later, but it's good enough to get started. So 0.1, so this is like 12.8 pixels, because this thing is 10, is 128 by 128. So it's like 12 and by 64. So let's go ahead and pop over here. Let's do 16 by 64, and then we can just be narrower if we want. Okay. Let's see. Let's just do gray for the moment. I'm going to use the entire, well, I'm going to use the entire space. And I'm going to use lines because I'm trying to draw a straight line. I'm not succeeding. Is this what chains look like? Sure. Okay, so I'm gonna imagine a light source is coming from the top left. So I'm going to lighten things up on this side. And a little bit down here. And darken on the flip side. Like, this is the kind of thing to me that feels like polish, but it takes like 10 seconds. If I want to like really kind of like shade a lot in here, you know, maybe that would be kind of excessive, but it looks really weird, but I think this is right. It's just like don't kind of fiddle with it too much. Okay. Sure, close enough. Okay, new project. Tippy Towers, art. And hey there, Iwas. What kind of game are you making? I have some doodles. I'll show you real quick. So I was really originally making kind of this Incredible Machine clone, kind of, but like darker and edgelordier. I kind of gave up on that because I didn't really have ideas for how to progress through the levels, and there was like too much content, too much kind of graphical content, and like per level customization. So what I'm doing instead, so the theme of the game jam is still 0 days since last accident. So I'm doing like kind of a Tippy Towers is what I'm calling it, and it's you stack blocks. I think there's plenty of games where you like are stacking things, but I'm gonna make it so that you have this kind of magnetic, like car junkyard kind of clamp that you use on top. So it's going to be, it's not just you drop things on top, it's going to be like you have a chain that's swinging a little bit and you're trying to time it right to drop the object on top. On additionally, if that shouldn't take too long. Hopefully I can finish that today. Additionally, I want there to be like a staging area off to the side where you're continually getting more stuff and you have to like kind of puzzle your way through to be like, okay, if you get a triangle, you can't just dump a triangle on top. You need two triangles that are the same size next to each other, and then that forms kind of this layer. Then you can put stuff on top of that. And that's what you see kind of happening here. The technical challenge for me is going to be, how does this magnet thing actually work? How do I want to, when it gets close, it should like clamp to the parallel surfaces together. And also, ideally, I think it would be super frustrating if you move your magnet over here and then you stick to like 5 different objects. So I'm gonna see like how can I make it so it only sticks to the closest object. Maybe I need to like change which layer objects are in. There's gonna be a lot of kind of fiddling there, but then you just try to build up higher and higher and higher, and your days since last accident counter goes up as you do that. So, I mean, I kind of just started this. You can see, like, here's the ground and here's like a block, and the crane moves, and what I'm working on right now is getting this chain working. So I forgot to export the chain. So here's our chain link, and let's see how it looks. Okay, I mean, it's small. Well, that doesn't help any. But I think that's fine. Interestingly, it also looks... So, despite what I said about polish before, the thing that looks weird about this is because the center is kind of hollow, it looks like it's a button. The part in the middle doesn't really look filled. So I'm just going to real quickly kind of shade in the opposite side of these edges to like make it look more three-dimensional. Oops, and re-export. Okay. The bottom edge looks too thin, but okay. Good. Okay, so there's our chain link. We don't need all these things here. We want the sprite here. Yeah, thank you. I hope it sounds like I've been doing game development for 10 years, like hobbyist stuff, and I finished one game jam in that time period. I'm not proud of that. So I'm trying to be like, okay, maybe this isn't the most original, but is it a little bit fun and can I finish it? Done. That's all. That's all you really need. All I'm really going for. And besides that, I mean, I've been kind of messing around all this, all this time, but you do develop valuable skills. I think there's, people, including me, like feel bad for not finishing things, but you're still you're still developing some skills. You're developing code skills, and a lot of time, like, oh, I have a cool idea for a game, and then you go to that, you build it, and then you make that one feature, and then you kind of get lost after that. I've done that so many times, but the more you develop these random things, the quicker you get at this. The kind of problem that I have is like game development is, there's prototyping, and then there's like, okay, these acronyms aren't going to work very well, but there's like prototyping, and then there's production, and there's like some kind of playtesting, and there's all these phases here, and I think I've gotten like decently good at this first part, but there's all these other things here that I have zero experience with. Like, if you've finish a crappy game and you launch it on Steam, okay, no one plays it, but at least you went through the process of user testing it and creating capsule art for it and um, you know, doing some kind of marketing, maybe reaching out to streamers, whatever. And if you just kind of dink around in the first part here, you might get decently good at that and actually like, on coding and, building things. But there's just there's so many hats to game development. It's especially if you're a solo dev, it's extremely multidiscipline. Okay, what am I doing? Joint is not okay. I think there's there's the two nodes over here. Um, let me delete this other chain link first. This needs to have like a collision shape. So shape. I mean, it's clearly a rectangle, but I always I like rounder shapes. If it's like I still feel like a circle shape is slightly more efficient than a square shape. I don't know if it's true or not, but it's just a radius. And similarly, like I'm gonna try a capsule shape here, just kind of a gut feeling. It is gonna be kind of well, let's make this 64 a nice round number. Uh, yeah. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. So here's this joint here. Connection to next, we're gonna call this. Okay. Oh, I was gonna say, I'm assuming that two nodes that are connected, yeah, disable collision, because you don't want two chains to collide with each other. That'd be that are touching. That'd be stupid. I might also use collision layers so that they can't collide, because if you somehow swing around a lot, if you have like chain one, like link 1 and link 3, can those hit each other? I don't think so. I think it would just kind of like wrap around because it's kind of pseudo three-dimensional space. Like the chains wouldn't literally like bonk into each other. The only reason they do that here is because it's such a two-dimensional plane. I don't know when that would actually come up or not, but it's just in case. Okay, so I'm gonna test this out first before making this into a scene. So let's see. For this one, for the positioning, this is very blurry. General textures. So I covered this in the last video. If you change the texture, like by default, when you like zoom things, it gets blurry, which if you're doing pixel art is usually not what you want. If you change it to default texture filter, now you get lovely blocky textures. So I'm gonna raise, let me just say like it overlaps this bottom bit a little bit. And let's do that here. And so when we have this other chain link, we want it to like overlap like that, let's say. So I haven't used this terribly much, but let's see. We're connecting chain link 1 and chain link 2. Aren't you though? Joint is not connected to 2 physics body 2Ds. Yes, it is. I'm going to delete this one for the moment. Okay, so that is actually what I was expecting. Like this is actually working correctly. Like it's falling because it's not connected to anything, but we can fix that real quick. Okay, I might have to Google that one. So up here on the crane, we're going to add a pin joint. and we're going to move it above just there. So we're going to connect the crane to the first chain link. And we're going to connect it like right there. We're going to move both of the chain links so that they're like that. So what I'm expecting is for it to no longer fall. And what I'm hoping is that as you move the crane back and forth, it'll, like, the chain will kind of dangle a bit. Okay. Whee! Oh, also something else I just realized is that these chain links actually are like 2 chain links. uh, I mean, just because of the symmetry settings I used. That's fine. It looks janky, but this is fun. This is gonna be so annoying. I mean, delightful for the player. Players will love this. Okay, so the chain link is passable. Hey Fidel, welcome in. I am making. I'm not. So I don't want to like. I think some people have heard this spiel already, and also it's in the recording. What I'm working on right now is a little game where you have a crane and it's a magnetic, like it's got a magnetic plate, and you like use the crane to lift objects onto a tower. And these shapes are mostly square or rectangular, but some of them are triangular. So you have to kind of strategize a bit for like how do you stack your triangles so that you can get to the next level. And you might even have circles. So if you how do you stack your circles so that they work? Hopefully there's more than that, because I don't know if that's a super deep strategy, but it's fine. I will cross that bridge when I finish everything else. Okay, so here's the chain link. As I mentioned before, I need to fix all this position stuff. I'm not gonna worry too much about that. I think I will position the root a little like that, actually, so because the center doesn't really have any significance. Maybe I can do, like, where do I want it to connect? I want the chain links to connect like right there. Okay, so here we're going to delete the other chain link so we can recreate it. I want that. And then I can create another one here. So I've said this before, I don't really like doing this, but I'm going to do editable children so that this connection here can, wait, is this already set up correctly? So this connection, oh, that's not right. So for the first node, it does make sense. Like, this is the chain link. This chain link here is the same. I can just be sure here. This chain link is referring to itself, which makes sense and is what we want. But the next chain link is always going to be something outside. It's going to be outside this scene, so we have no choice but to like modify this or do something programmatically. So let's go ahead and do this and make sure that this is still working. Okay, looks horrible. Great. And then let's kind of, I think if this were much longer, I'd want to do this kind of programmatically, either at runtime or using like a tool script. Even as it is, I'm like, are these exactly spaced? I should probably like be sure. So this is at, I'm gonna say like put these at exact powers of 2 at first, and then kind of fix them afterwards. Okay, so clearly these are like touching. So I think for this one, I'm going to say like 128 minus 4. Sure, looks good. And this was, minus 4 times 2, which is 8. So now each one is 60 pixels apart. Big math. Okay, I was about to try. I mean, hey, I was about to try it, which went as well as it was supposed to. Connect this to the next one. What does bias do? controls how fast the joint pulls them back to their original position. Default. Okay. Well, I'll worry about that later. Okay. This is doing, you can see it kind of hits itself sometimes. This is doing what I want. I want it to kind of extend down to like the middle of the screen or so. So I'm going to do one more chain link. So you're right in the right spot, but I want it to be plus 60 down lower. And editable children link to that thing. Okay. It was working 10 seconds ago. Is it still working? Okay. Chaotic. Great. It does bother me a little bit that these chain links are like fused like this, but it's I'll fix that off stream or something. Chain links. Okay, next thing is the magnet. This is going to be magnet seems like one of those things that is going to be like half my time is spent on the magnet. Okay, quick to a sprite. Well, let me kind of block out how big we want this to be. You go there. Do we want it 16 pixels? That didn't. I want float math. Thank you. Wait, that's why did I think that's a good idea? I want it. I want it on the y-axis. Okay. Okay. Looks reasonable. So it's 128 pixels wide and 16 pixels tall. Let's give that a shot. New. Let's see if I can remember my ordering this time. 120 pixels wide, 16 tall. We're gonna do vertical. Is that horizontal? Horizontal symmetry. Switch to our favorite color palette every single time. And I thought I was okay. So it's my kind of cartoon memory of this is something like this. G. And then I'm gonna do like some quick shading. And then we have like lighter color over there and some darker color. That's not very dark. Well, whatever. It's fine. It's reflecting the sky, so it's gonna be lighter. Yeah, sure. Okay. This part looks bad. Okay. I'm gonna add one more. Is this the same? One more band across the middle to like give a little bit more depth or something. And a little line here. It is weird. There's the same colors, the opposite side, but it's fine. Don't worry about it. Magnet. Export. And here we are. Okay. Done. So we're replacing our icon with magnet. I love how it's squished over here. Everything is squished over here. It's not handle non-square proportions very well. Yeah, it looks a little weird, but it's fine. Okay. It's getting confused. Let's do that. Editable children. Connect to chainlink. Wait. This is not a physics object. Okay, the eye should fix that. Rigid body. Pull the magnet under there. Copy these transforms around. Okay. Now, well, okay. Sprite, magnet. I don't know if this, the magnet must need a script. I think it's gonna have to like toggle areas on and off and stuff. Let me think. Collision shape. I think I will go for a rectangle this time because I want it to be like a very hard. Well, yeah, it's fine. Rectangle. I mean, obviously it's not exactly a rectangle, but I don't think things are gonna be sticking to the backside of it very much. At least I hope not. Feel bad for the player if it does. Okay. So here's the main shape. I know I'm gonna have a magnet zone in front of it at some point. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do that real quick right now. So this is gonna be an area because it's permeable. Things can enter it. This is what I mean. There's this gravity thing over here. This is override mode for gravity calculations. So let's kind of look at this for a second. So either there's no gravity, or this gravity adds gravity / damping. So first of all, okay, let's see. Oh, there's so many things here. Oh, gravity / damping. Okay, so it's just the same tooltip for all of them. It is why it's written that way. So linear damp is the rate at which objects stop moving in this area. So it's like friction, but it's like a spatial friction. And I think angular damp is the same thing, but for rotation. So this area adds its gravity values to whatever it's been calculated so far. Or combine replaces this area adds its gravity to whatever has been calculated so far, ignoring any lower priority areas in priority order. Notice that there's this priority here. Higher priority areas are processed first. Okay, makes sense. Replace this area replaces any gravity, even the defaults. We're ignoring any lower priority areas. Whereas the previous one, I thought it was, includes the world. Replace combine. Say it replaces any gravity so far, but keeps calculating the rest of the areas. Okay, so combine is kind of means how it handles other areas in the scene, and replace means does it delete the default or not. So basically, like, is our magnet competing with like actual world gravity? No, I think, well, we'll see. So like, I think if you were playing making like a Super Mario Galaxy thing where each planet has its own gravity, and when you're on that planet, that's the only thing that matters. These kind of replace things make more sense. But here they're like, well, technically the gravity needs to overpower, the Earth gravity. So I think maybe just combine the most basic one. Combine. I like point. I really want, like, it's really kind of a rectangular area. Point unit, does this show up over here? Okay. The gravity at which the distance at which the gravity strength is equal to gravity. For example, on a planet, 100 pixels in a radius with the surface gravity of 4 pixels per second squared, setting the gravity to 0 at 4 and the unit distance to 100, the gravity will have fall off When set to 0, the gravity will be constant regardless of distance. I think this is basically saying, like, you have an area and then the closer to the magnet you are, the stronger the gravity. That makes sense. If gravity is the point, this will be the point of attraction. Okay, so that was a lot of thinking. I think this is just going to require a lot of experimentation. So we're creating a collision shape here. And again, a rectangle. Again, this exact size is gonna, it's another fiddle thing. Like, do we want it to be like this? I don't know. Let's kind of do something kind of crazy bigger for now. Gravity zone. That's not zone. Okay. It's a hat. That is not what is supposed to happen. Okay, connection to next. This needs to be connected to the magnet, which I couldn't do before because it wasn't a rigid body before. This is actually, I mean, the other, okay, it looks a little ridiculous. Let's like, this is actually like 10 kilograms. I wish it would like rotate a little bit more. Do you have like crazy angular damping or something? No. One thing I saw one of the videos do is they increase the gravity scale. Is that seems like a bad idea a bit. So wobbly. The other thing is like, you know how in games when you have physics engines, they're like, don't, everything is supposed to be between like 10 centimeters and 100 meters. You can't be like, this thing is 20 kilometers because then the game engine does not like, I think the floating point math maybe breaks down a bit there. I think similarly, you don't want to have like, this is 10 grams and this is 2 kilograms and this is 13. And so I'm trying to see if all these like masses need to be like close together. It certainly resonates a lot. Like, I wish there was a way I could be like, look, just settle down faster. It is weird that this doesn't. There we go. All right. Well. Oh, I'm gonna forget this later, so I'm gonna add this now. These are contacts so that they'll actually report contacts when it touches things. Okay. Great. I would like this. I need to test this. So we're gonna throw some additional blocks in here. Okay. Wow, that is really weird. It's doing something. Game dev things. So it has this gravity zone and it's working. The problem is I can't tell like what it's doing exactly. Like there's no kind of I guess let me say this another way. There's not very many visual indication in the editor. Like what is happening. So the answer to that is you make everything crazy big and see what happens. Is this going to go down or up or what? Okay. Oh. Uh, see, perfect, like a charm. 20,000 might be a bit much, but I think my question. I was trying to figure out the directionality of it. Is like if you have a magnet here and you look at its position as you go up, y gets smaller. So y is pointing down, and if you look at here, default gravity is 980, which is a positive value. So 980, the default vector is 1. And here's our gravity zone. And see, like, I think the point of attraction here, I want the point of attraction to be the surface of the magnet, obviously, but I want the like radius of its influence to be this. So the collision shape here is 36, that's random, but 36 pixels tall. So do I want the point center? What is the other documentation for this? Like, I'm assuming the point center is relative to the actual center. Does it say? What is the gravity point center? Gravity direction. Oh. See, is this in global coordinates or local coordinates? Because this could also work. So, okay, so we know, let's try this, -1. Because we know 1 is positive towards the ground. It is gravitating itself. No. Don't do that. Okay. Okay, so we're going to create a separate collision layer for these objects. So again, layer is like what layer are you in, and mask is what layer do you collide with or interact with, in like a one directional kind of way. Like they might not interact with you, but you can interact with them. So the first thing we need to do is decide what to call our layers. Let's call this player and junk. Okay. So now the player, crane is part of the player, is on this layer, and it can collide with itself or with junk. And same thing for the magnet. The magnet can collide with, and technically all the links should maybe be updated also. And the magnet can collide with the player and also junk. But the gravity zone can only collide with junk. So now the last thing we need to do is ensure we save, is to ensure that these junk things, these kind of select multiple at the same time? No? Okay. Are on the correct layer. And if I do this, this is not quite right. Because they're all on layer 2, but they don't interact with layer 2. So what we actually want is the collide of the player and each other. Ta-da! Okay. Let's see. So the crane. Okay, I mean, this should work now. So first of all, we can tell it is at least not sticking to itself anymore. Okay. So that is funny, but not exactly what I'm going for. Part of it is it's too bouncy, but I wonder if I just make these like really heavy. Okay, I should probably copy this. Copy. Oh, wait a second. Wait a second. I have a scene for this. Why am I doing it like this? Let's try 10 instead. So the other thing is physics materials. Let me just dive into this real quick. Absorbent. Subtract bounciness. So this is like if you, I don't know if this relates to joints. This is normally like if you have a ball and it hits something, does it, if it's a bouncy ball, it retains 99% of its energy, it bounces off. If it's a beanbag, then it like just plops. So I don't think that's relevant. Hey Samar, just over here. Any tips for me just starting with Godot? Um, well, so one of the things with starting with Godot is, I mean, it depends partly on what your background is. If you're coming from Unity, a lot of the most of the concepts translate over, except the way like nodes versus components is pretty different. If you're coming from GameMaker, I don't really know anything about that. If you're kind of coming from neither background, I think the tutorials on the actual website, like there are uh, there's a tutorial on here. I think like getting started. So this is of course like the first place you start with, and you go through this, and like there's like Brackeys has a couple tutorials, and who did I mean I'm sure everyone's, in case you haven't heard of him, he did a lot of Unity tutorials, and then took a break. Originally gonna be a permanent break, and then came out of hiding to work on I don't know, to do Godot tutorials. So there's a couple of those. He's pretty famous. In general, I would just like find a small idea, just like Tetris or Breakout, or it doesn't have to be original. In fact, it shouldn't be original. Like copy something else, because if you're making too many creative decisions, I at least find for me, I get kind of overwhelmed fairly easily of like which of these doesn't, like making decisions constantly kind of wears me down. So just kind of find a fun little game idea, or just mess around. Start with just messing around. Be like, how do I, it'd be cool if I could make these two objects stick together, or stuff like that. Um, Pick something that's small in scope. There's the kind of like things that complicate any game design. First of all, don't do multiplayer. Multiplayer is gonna be a pain. Godot makes it relatively easy, but it's just not a first game kind of thing. 3D, sorry. 3D, I'd also say is just, there's plenty of successful games that are not 3D. It's just you start after worrying about models and animations, and it just gets pretty complicated. So avoid multiplayer, avoid 3D. Physics even is kind of iffy. Do you want to do like, it's really tempting to do like an Angry Birds clone, which wouldn't be too bad, but a lot of physics games tend to kind of get more and more than that. I think like platformers are fine, because physics is like, you just, it's pretty much just gravity and collisions, but it's still like, you know, it's another layer of complexity that you don't really need. So if you're really going for like the simplest thing, it might be some kind of puzzle game, or like 2048. Like, is there like a 2048 tutorial? There's like a whole demo here, but that's, obviously that defeats the point. There's I think like 2040, like you have some two-dimensional arrays, and you have some animation with like tweening and stuff like that, and obviously all the game logic. That wouldn't be a bad start. Um, my personal take is it's like you want to finish games. It would be nice to finish games, but also if you spend a lot of time just starting games, I think that's not the worst thing either. You're still getting some experience with GD script. You're still learning the tools of it. So long as you aren't rebuilding the same thing every time, you're kind of gradually osmosing and broadening your horizons and stuff. So yeah, just find a couple of good tutorials. I don't know if you want to do like video tutorials or text-based tutorials, but yeah, that's kind of where I would start. Hope that helps. It's definitely like, I will say game dev is one of the hardest things you can do. It's one of the hardest fields to get into because there's programming, there's art, there's marketing. There's all these different skill sets, and just sticking with it because it's hard and it's frustrating, and it feels great when you finish something, but the delayed gratification is quite high. There's 80% of your time is going to be fiddling with things and trying to get stuff to work. Especially in the beginning, there's going to be a lot of why isn't this working kind of moments. I think it's definitely worth persisting on. Also play to your strengths. If you're a programmer, focus on games if you can that don't require too much good art. If you're an artist, there's like visual editors, and there's also like just game formats. Like if you want to do like a hidden object game, or kind of something more visual, escape rooms or puzzles. If neither of those really fall into, maybe you're just getting started and don't really have those particular skill sets, I don't know. World's your oyster. You can choose whatever you want. You can decide, just do you want to do more art or do you want to do more logic, and then kind of skew more in that direction. It's a little bit discouraging to me when I see people like Concerned Ape or other game developers who have like developed a skill set of just doing everything. That's good for them. That's not really realistic for most people. Uh, if you look at like, so Concerned Ape did Stardew Valley. He spent like 5 years doing 10 hours a day or something of I mean, doing all the art for, and he's been rewarded handsomely with a lot of success with Stardew Valley. But I I can't do 12-hour or 10-hour days for years at a time. I can barely do it over a weekend. I can work for about 6 hours, then I'm like, oh, I need to watch TV for for an hour or two. So pick something small. Don't be too hard on yourself. Spend an hour or two per day. Just kind of build up your skills. Mess around. Familiarize yourself with the editor. Learn to code. I think even if you're not like a programmer, learning a little bit of code is gonna help a lot. And then you know, see if it interests you and see if you want to learn more. I know there's like visual editors, but I still recommend like just writing code. Okay, all right. Soapbox over. Let's get back to this. It's still wobbly. I think there's. Wait. Angular damping. That might be what I want to do here, but see, the thing is that wasn't I complaining earlier that this wasn't wobbling enough? Now it's wobbling too much. It seems like kind of a polished thing to move these around a lot, but if I can't physically pick up objects, then it's more than that. So let's, for the chain link, let's try some angular damping. What is the default value? It says this comes from physics 2D default angular damp. And this is kind of a weird setting because if you imagine like you're not in this game, it assumes you're not in space. If you start spinning something, it's gonna slow down and stop on its own. which is kind of interesting that they threw that in as a default behavior. Physics 2D, I think that must be an advanced. A default angular damp 1. Good values in the range 0 to 1. At value 0, objects will keep moving with the same velocity, angular velocity. Values greater than 1 will aim to reduce velocity to 0 in less than a second. A value of 2 will aim to reduce velocity to 0 in half a second. So it's like a 1 over x value. A value equal to or greater than the physics frame rate will bring the object to a stop in 1 iteration. So that's, so we don't want to do 60. Like 1 iteration is going to be a, like 1/60th of a second. Okay. Well, let's just mess around. So let's try. So here we have. So here's how it looks normally. You move a little bit, and it bounces around a lot. And so this is the angular damp for chain link. Flashbang asks, "What is the theme of the jam?" So the theme is 0 days since last accident. And so what I'm doing for this is like you're building a tower of junk, maybe it's a junkyard, I don't know, a tower of like boxes and triangles and circles, and you're building a tower and you're trying to have it not fall over. And the way, you know, if it falls over, then you have some counter in the corner that keeps track of like how long you've been playing, and those are like days since the last accident. So each screen is like increments from 1 to 2 to 3. And then if it falls over, then it kind of goes. It like sadly goes zoosh and like switches back to a 0, and then you have to start over. And I don't know. It's like I said before, it's not the most original, but I mean, game jam games are hard, and I haven't done a whole lot of them. So getting a theme or like, oh, come up with a quick original idea you can finish in a week, and that plays well and has fun and is fun and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, well, best I can do is half finish a game. So that's why I'm trying to pace myself a little bit. So I think it looks better. The magnet is still going crazy, but that's because the magnet is not what I'm messing with here. I'm going to increase this one a little bit. So the magnet I want to increase a lot because it's heavy compared to the chains. So let's go over to the magnet and try changing that to, thanks for the hearts. Let's try this like 10. I think this might be a lot, but okay. See, it's working. It's working. It's working too. It's working too. Part of this is like maybe just the crane is moving too fast. 150. This is my only script so far, by the way. I mean, I could leave it in there and just make the game really hard, but I prefer not to do that. Okay, so there's a couple other ideas here. One is like, well, this magnet needs to go up and down, so that's one thing. The other thing is like, what if I could turn it on or off? Like you hold down space. You like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of like how you do this with mobile. Also, I was originally thinking like you would just lower it and it would just stick to things. But that's like, how do you unstick it on the other side? You have to be able to turn it on and off, right? So let's start with raising and lowering. So something else that belatedly occurred to me is this can't reach the ground. So if there are things on the ground over here, that's problematic. So I'm gonna fix that real quick. Let me commit my history so far. Magnet. And so far you can see there's some chain links. Right now they're just copy pasted. So I'm going to do more of that. I'm going to clear this one before I forget about it. So chain link 5. Okay, first of all, we're going to move this magnet over here. Shoot. Chain link 5. So I calculated that these are 60 apart, and in case you didn't know, you can just math in here, which is pretty nice occasionally. Chain length 6 plus 60. So these are 64 tall, and they overlap a little bit, so it's plus 60 each time. And we're going for, there's this tiny blue line at the bottom here. Well, also I can just turn this on. Oh, right. Okay, I was gonna do all these chain links at the end, but I guess I'll do them right now. So 4 links to 5. 5 links to 6. And we want to basically, so the goal at the moment is that this should go, I I don't know how bad of an idea this is. This is going to be like, it's going to be very silly. The entire premise for this game of having this crane here be wiggly. Anyway, I will continue to self-doubt. So let's do a couple more of these. So 7 is plus 60. Plus there's some games that are like frustrating on purpose. I can always claim it was like the plan all along if it's like impossible to play. It's a feature that's greatly designed. Okay, so let's see, where did we leave off? 5 leads to 6, 6 links to 7, 7 links to 8, and 8, okay, so many. 8 links to 9, and then 9 links to the magnet, but we don't have that at the moment. Let's make sure this is... Okay, so that was a little... It was inside the floor for a second. I don't think we need the last one. Also, I want to see what this looks like. Oh wait, why is the magnet? Oh, the magnet is like linked. Sorry, I missed it. I was too busy to look at the magnet. So each box is 1 kilogram because that's the default, and each chain is I think 10 or 20. So you can like completely clobber. It's man, maybe I should make a wrecking ball game. That'd be fun. I'm tempted. This is the fun part of game development, when you're like just kind of dicking around. I mean, physics kind of is also kind of good. It tends to like break in horrible funny ways. Okay, all right. Back to focus. I don't think we need that last chain link. Let's add the magnet back here. Let's reset the x coordinate. Not okay. Sorry, just the x coordinate. Sure, that looks good. Link you to the magnet. And this is kind of what I want. I think this is okay. It's janky, but it's fine. Wham, wrecking ball. One other thing before I forget that you might have noticed is the gravity area here is in fact a rectangle, and it's like swinging diagonally and rotating a bit, but it's always pointing in absolute terms straight up. So I was hoping that this gravity zone direction here would be relative, such that like if you rotate the gravity zone, now it would be going this way, but I don't think it is. It looks like it's still pointing straight up and down. That might suggest I should actually be doing point instead, because that way things will be gravitating towards the center here. And then I can rely on friction to kind of like keep it from like moving too close to the center, unless that's a feature. So we'll see how that goes. But the next thing that I need to do is you need to be able. So there's two things. I need to be able to raise it up and down. Right now it's on the ground and it just kind of clobbers things awkwardly. Like that was the magnet pulling upwards. So I need to be able to move it up and down. Also, I do want to be able to turn the magnet on and off. Okay, so let's start with up and down. So this one's going to be kind of weird because I don't think there's like, I want it to go up and down, but like funneled through the center here. I don't want it like if you just move the entire crane, if you're just kind of moving all these shapes here, like it's going to end up like rotating out from this top point. It's going to look weird. So I think what I want to do is have kind of a a guard on either side. Um, and so so one of the things is this chain link here doesn't collide with. Oh, wait, hold on. Yeah, so this chain doesn't collide with itself or with the second link. Okay, sorry, I'm kind of all over the place. Let me just show you what I mean. I'm just going to use the logo again. So we have another collision shape that is a rectangle. And we put it here. And the purpose of this is to kind of ensure all the chain link goes through the center point. We're gonna make this a little, well, let's do some powers of 2. Everyone loves powers of 2. No, that's too far though. Okay, this one. Okay, so here we have, it's like this. So the purpose of this is that you can pull up the chain and it'll force it up through the middle part. Okay, this should actually maybe be much longer. Let's say this is 320. Oh, aha. So because I copied this shape, the resource is shared between them, which is for once what we actually want. But it's usually very confusing. So here, the exact number actually doesn't matter. So what we're going to be doing is pulling the shape up through here, pulling the chain up through here. The thing is, okay, I have an idea for this. Right now, it's rooted. The chain is or the crane is connected to the chain, and that's fine, but it means they can't collide. Which is previously what we wanted. But if the chain is being pulled up through the crane, obviously that's going to cause very weird artifacts. So I think what I'm going to do instead is there's going to be an invisible object that we move that represents the anchor on the crane, and it moves with the crane, but it can also move up and down. Basically, it's like where you're it's where you're reeling it into. So the crane, so this pin joint, I'm going to delete. And I'm going to call this the, so it has to be a physics object. I guess this is another character body 2D. The crane doesn't really need to be a physics object, but I don't know. So this is the chain anchor. And we're going to position it like there. Also floating because I just don't want to deal with that. The chain anchor doesn't really have a collision shape, but I guess we'll give it a tiny circle. A 4-pixel circle. That's the collision shape of this thing, of the anchor. So you are the player and you collide. Okay, this is still fine. But see, the weird thing is like you can have these pin joints, but the nodes don't have to be related to the pin joint. By which I mean, I would always assume that node A is the thing that the pin joint is a child of. But it's not. Anyway, so I'm gonna try the pin joint. I'm gonna put the pin joint on the anchor because that still makes sense to me. and chain anchor. And then the other joint is going to be the first chain link, or the other node. And this is still complaining. Yeah, is that just a bug? I'm really curious. Like pin joint always complains. Pin joint 2D always complains. Whatever. Okay, because these are clearly, well, okay. Okay, so I've said this before. You can put a script on chain anchor, but all it does is this one thing. So I kind of prefer to put it here instead. And also maybe some of these things will interact with each other. So if I hold down Control and drag it in here, this is a quick and easy way to be like, now we have a reference to chain anchor. It's available before ready runs. So we want some new actions for pulling the chain up and sending it back down again. Project settings, input map. So we have move left and move right because I wanted the WASD keys to work. So speaking of WASD keys, chain up, move up. I mean, this is specific to our game. Like, I don't know. Don't spend too much time on it. So this is move up and move down, this is in reference to the magnet. We want the magnet up and down. Move up is W and also up arrow. And move down is S and also down arrow. Move up, move down, great. And we also want to say if input is action pressed, move up, position dot y. I always get these reversed, but positive y is down. So if we're moving up, we want this. We want a different speed actually. Move up speed. Move up speed times delta. Do we want to use the same speed for going down? Obviously the name would have to change. Let's just try it. Move down. Position dot y plus equal to move up speed. Yes, it's weird. Times delta. See, like this level of coding, I don't think is too onerous. So this is what I mean by like even if you're like not a programmer, you can learn like if I press button, things move. I think that's a valuable skill to have. So, okay, let's double check here. When we press move up or down, then okay, we're moving the wrong thing. We want to move the chain anchor up or down. And the chain anchor is pinned to itself and to the chain link, to the first chain link. And also the chain anchor, because it's a child of the crane, it moves with the crane. So as we move it side to side, the chain anchor that stays there. The only things that we really need to do next is like prevent it from going, off to infinity. But we'll see how this goes first. Okay. Nothing is happening. All right. Good start. Let me let's see. So you aren't exactly supposed to move physics objects like directly like this, but it's still working. You can, I mean, it's still, I I mean, you can see the crane is moving. You're supposed to, when you have like one of these things, you're supposed to set a velocity and then move and slide or move and collide. I think that's fine. All right. Bye, Slavik man. Thanks for watching. Yeah, I mean, I'm 2 hours into the stream. This is like a pretty good stopping point. Let me, let me not finish yet. This is still like, hey, look, it's a crane game and you can't crane things yet. So I would like to, I'm not going to get like the button part working, the where like you can turn on and off the magnet. That wouldn't be too hard, but I at least want to be able to like raise the thing. I I'm assuming that this is like not fundamentally flawed. Like, let me, can I freeze? So, I mean, I'm wondering if like the chain is running into something here. Maybe I can like lower, if I lower the chain anchor, I don't know, like, you can see the anchor is doing something, but like, I can't move it. I mean, let me try. Okay, here's the anchor. If I just move everything, so I'm thinking is like colliding with the crane. So if I just dump everything down a little bit, okay. But if I move it, like I can't, like I can move it side to side, but I can't move it up and down. I mean, it seems like it's not even receiving these events. So I wonder if I'm doing, oh, did I never set move up speed? This is not the first time I've made this mistake. Okay. So okay, it is working. It is also colliding with the crane, so I need to make it not do that. And I think the way I can do that is by making the crane be on its own layer, something else. Okay. I mean, it's a bit broken, but this is the way it's supposed to be working. Broken. No, it's a bit broken because the stuff is like, it's just because of where the crane is or where the chains are. So let me fix those real quick. I wish I'd also move the magnet. This is gonna be kind of a pain to, there, just like that. Oh, and the anchor. If I lower it, it lowers. Okay. You know, you also have to be able to lower it that much. This is the lowest it's supposed to be, but if you raise it, you can raise it, but it's got those little walls. So even when you're, okay, so the walls aren't working because, well, I just don't want this collision shape actually. Let me delete, well, I can disable it. Delete that collision shape and then put the crane back on this layer because we do want to collide with the, like these collision shapes here are technically part of the crane. So something else that like another code direction smell that this is kind of suggesting is that maybe the root shouldn't be the crane. Maybe the root should be a node 2D and the crane can be like one part of it, and then the chain links can be a sibling up here to the crane. But I think if I just disable, which I think we would have to do, except we don't really need this physics object here. So now if we move side to side, you can see it's kind of stuck here. So as you kind of reel it in, it still can't move past that point much. And then as you like lower it, it looks okay. Magnet. See, the way it flies off like that, it means it's not magneting in the right direction. Okay, so I want to do one last thing. It's a little cosmetic thing. Show behind. Can I put it on this? Are you a canvas item? You are a canvas item. Show behind parent. So now when we reel it in, okay, don't worry about that part. It shows behind, which is a little less. Maybe it'll eventually be like a transparent part here anyway, but like it's a little bit less immersion breaking right now. So now you can go. Whoop! Whoa! Big crushing energy, and it works. So okay, I'm going to stop the stream there for now. But it's been a productive couple hours. So the next steps for me is I want to turn on and off there's gonna be like you'll hit spacebar or something. I think it needs to be a button and not a. I think it needs to be a toggle and not like a hold, because on mobile, it's gonna be weird to like look hold on the screen here and here, like that's kind of inconvenient. So I want to be like you press this big satisfying button to like turn it on or off. So I'm gonna do the same thing here. And also that the magnet also still needs some work. So this like the way this like kind of like nopes off like that, it's going up, it's not going into the magnet. So I think I need to just mess around with those settings a bit. Also kind of get the CI/CD pipeline working so you can actually play for yourself this clearly amazing, well finished game. So thanks for watching.